Okay, so we've got that. Yes, but yeah, we are ready to go ahead and start. Do you want me to introduce you, or do you just want to take off?
We can just take off unless you feel the need to introduce us. Well, you're welcome. We are good to go
Don't
ahead and
feel
get
the
started.
need, so I'm excited to hear about how to expand our extension audience.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just go ahead and apologize for my voice. I'm trying to get over a cold. I think it's just a normal cold. I think people still get those, and I think I did get that. If my voice goes out, I'll turn it over to my co-presenter here in just a few minutes. But my name is Allie Griner. I'm a 4-H agent up in the northern part of the state in Georgia. And today, our presentation, mine and my co-presenter, Abbie Salmon, will introduce her in just a second. We're talking about expanding the extension audience and what our story is about partnering with our Vocational Rehabilitation Agency to reach individuals with disabilities. And so, as we talk a little bit about that, so as I mentioned, I'm in Gordon County 4-H. Abbie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. So my name is Abbie Salmon, and I am the Floyd County 4-H agent here in Georgia. And Allie and I both saw kind of a need within both of our counties about the need to help our 4-Hers prepare to be a professional. And I won't steal Allie's thunder too much on that. We're excited to be here today and share some of the things that we put together and how we expanded our extension audience.
So to give a little bit of a backstory, so within our traditional 4-H audience, so our youth audiences of particularly our teens, and I'm sure many of you who work with teens, whether you are in 4-H or if you're in ag or fax or anything else, a lot of the need we've been seeing is helping youth have those soft skills or job readiness skills so that they are able to enter the workforce or even just go to college and have an ability to act like a professional. And what does that mean? Because that definition of professionalism changes over time as well. So we developed a curriculum. This kind of started out as us creating this for our 4-Hers. We started with 4 lessons, and those first 4 that we have there was how to do interviews. We talked about how an interview is just a conversation, and we talked about how to prepare for an interview, what to do during an interview, how to follow up an interview. And we actually were launching this during COVID. So we talked about doing virtual and phone interviews as well, as those became more popular. We also created a lesson with professional communication. So learning how to email appropriately, asking for recommendation letters, because that was something that we saw our students doing a lot in a way that wasn't very professional. And also how to make a phone call. A lot of our kids are used to texting, but they're not as used to speaking on the phone to a business or to someone in a professional role. Professional dress was certainly one that we wanted to cover to make sure students understood the difference between casual dress, business casual, professional, those kinds of things, and writing thank you notes. We felt like that was very important for our kids to have the ability to do. And so we started with those 4 lessons. And then in the past year, we've also added in some additional ones as we've gotten feedback from teaching these lessons, and some of the things you'll hear in just a few minutes about some of the feedback we got from those as well, where we added resumes and cover letters. So how you create a professional looking resume, how you write a cover letter, first jobs. What are some appropriate first jobs for kids, or at least typical, if not appropriate, typical first jobs, so that they could think about ways that they could enter the workforce, and then how to understand their pay and benefits, how to know the difference between salary and hourly, those kinds of things with understanding that pay part. And then what do the benefits mean? Insurance, leave, those kinds of things, how to assess that when they're looking at a whole compensation package. So we have this whole curriculum that we created, and it came with lesson plans, handouts, evaluation, and we were using it within our own 4-H audiences. So the backstory with this, we created it. We've used it with our Georgia 4-H youth, with our Ready for Life ambassadors. It was an ambassador program that was created within Georgia 4-H that we sat on the planning committee for. And so we created these lessons for use within our own audience. However, as we started teaching this and sharing with others at like a National Youth at Risk conference and other places where other professionals were seeing this, everyone has this need, just not just our 4-H audiences, everyone who works with youth. We were seeing middle and high school teachers that really wanted this curriculum, those who worked in other after school programs, things like that. And so one of those that approached us was our local, I say local, our statewide, but it was in our region area, Vocational Rehabilitation Agency. And so I'll talk a little bit more about how that partnership began. But they came to us because they saw a need within the population that they serve specifically. So my slide to move. So vocational rehabilitation is a state agency in Georgia that assists individuals with disabilities to find employment and receive job skills training. And so there is one in every state. We verified that with our contact as we were creating this presentation proposal, that there is an agency. It could be more privately done within a state, but each state agency, it could be more privatized or more public facing in the sense, but every state has one that assists individuals with disabilities in finding employment. And so what happened with this story that happened here is as they began, this was all kind of happening around the pandemic time as well. But at the same time, they also had a redesign in the delivery of their programs. So they kind of had a twofold need here because initially they were doing much more one-on-one counseling with youth who are seeking jobs. They were providing consultations, helping with that individual focus. But around the time of COVID, not necessarily because of COVID, but around that same time of the pandemic, they were beginning to push into classrooms at a time and teaching in a classroom format rather than only the one-on-one individual appointments. And so they had a need, and they saw that Extension and 4-H could provide two separate things for them. One of those is the classroom management piece of being able to manage a group of youth, and how do you lead a whole group of youth through activities, through educational lesson plans, and teach them in a group setting rather than just the one-on-one consultations they were typically doing. And then also they needed formal lesson plans and curriculum as they were making that redesign, as they were teaching these skills. They didn't have specific lesson plans that taught the skills that we were teaching within that curriculum. So they saw kind of a two ways that we could assist them in that. And so what Abbie and I did, we worked together and created a training for 9 pre-employment specialists, is what their title is. So they're helping youth and I guess young adults to get employment. And so we worked with 9 of them in our area and did a workshop, a 2-part workshop, where we taught a session or a lengthy session on classroom management, how to handle a classroom. And we also taught about, kind of did a train the trainer on using our curriculum within their classrooms and ways that they could utilize that. And so we had people in those 9 people. Some of those had just started 2 months previously, but some had been working for Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation for up to 20 years. And so they were thinking, no matter where they came in, they were all kind of facing this new way of doing their job duties, and making sure that they were helping those people to be able to find employment. And so they were providing that career counseling in the classroom setting. And so as we provided that training, we got some results back from that as well. Actually, I think you're talking about the results here in just a second, right, Abbie? So we provided them the lesson plans. We gave them the curriculum. We talked through and we kind of taught it to them so that they could see how that lesson would play out in a classroom. We used them as the classroom, and we did it virtually. And at that time, because it was still during the pandemic, so we gave them virtual options as well, because some of their schools at that time were still virtual only, even though they were still pushing into the classroom. And we had also created videos of us teaching this lesson so that they were able to kind of plug and play. If they weren't quite comfortable yet to lead the lesson themselves, they could start the video and then stop it where they wanted to, lead an activity, start the video again. So to kind of help with the modeling of teaching that lesson as well. So we kind of engaged in 2 different ways, again, with that, helping them to run a classroom and then also providing those formal lesson plans. So then I'm going to turn it over to Abbie to talk about more of what happened from that initial workshop we provided for them.
Okay, thank you, Allie. Like Allie said, we did this workshop with these vocational rehabilitation employees that were going to kind of change their job duties. Not only, like Allie said, not only because of the pandemic, but also just their job roles were somewhat changing. But these pre-employment specialists, they had the content knowledge, and they had, they were somewhat comfortable, but they really needed some more experience with that classroom management, and having that curriculum in hand. So following the training that we provided for them, they stated that their comfort level with managing a classroom and teaching each of these lessons had increased. And with all of them, they expressed a moderate or high level of comfort with teaching the content. So that made us feel really good as far as that we had provided them something that they could then go out and take to their communities to make their job easier, but also reach more individuals with disabilities. 88% found that the trainings were very, very useful to them, and all 9 of them plan to use that training materials provided to them in the future. And I do know that this is something that they have continued to use. So not only did they use it during this specific time, but they also continue to use these materials even today to help some of their clients meet some of their career goals. Like Allie mentioned earlier, this is something that we really, really saw that need with our 4-H members. But this is also something that if you're working with an adult population that hasn't had a lot of experience in the workforce, one of the things that we tell our 4-Hers is that sometimes you just don't know what you don't know. So these are some of the ways that we wanted to share this information, and we were able to teach a lot of basic information that us as extension professionals oftentimes take for granted just because of our experience. Some of our evaluation comments were things like, I wish there were more similar sessions presented to benefit my staff. Their presentation was professional, well prepared, interesting, and interactive. The information and tips provided will be extremely useful for service delivery to our students. I'm grateful for this training opportunity. Another one said, I have a good knowledge base, but their presentation provided excellent information and examples to use in group settings. This training will definitely enhance my skills and presentations. So from this somewhat of a partnership that we had developed as far as, originally starting with designing and creating the curriculum to this partnership and the train the trainer method with our regional vocational rehabilitation agency, this led us to a connection to something called the GROW program. And the GROW program stands for Getting Ready for Opportunities in Work. And what this program was it was a 5-day program that provided these high school students who are individuals with disabilities. It provided them the opportunity to have in-class educational settings, but not only just those in-class settings or sessions that we provided, but it also provided them with an opportunity to take part in industry tours with potential job opportunities associated with those, tours of work-based learning job sites, job observation, and then just the basic life skill development. So I know they had some opportunities for them to just have the basic communication skills with some mock interviews and things like that. While this GROW program was not something that we coordinated in ourselves, we did help provide a portion of the educational programming. But one of the things that we really wanted to focus on here and in this session was, what can you offer as an extension professional to some of these organizations like VR, and what were some things that they could provide in return to really, really provide a good partnership and collaboration piece. With this program, like I said, it was a 5-day program. The funding was provided by Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation. So they provided the funding for this entire 5-day session. And this actually happened not only in my county and Allie's county, but another county that is within our region as well. And I believe it happened across our state. But there were only 3 counties that we worked with to make sure that the educational portion was provided. It was coordinated by Georgia Career and Technical Instruction. So this is Georgia CTI. You guys probably have a CTI program within your state as well. And then we provided a portion of that educational programming within 3 counties within our state. And that educational programming was our preparing to be a professional curriculum. So we did work with the coordinators to see which pieces that they want us to provide. I know that I taught a professional dress session where we really focused on personal hygiene and why that was important. I know Allie taught a session on thank you notes and the importance of telling others thank you. Another thing that we were also able to provide, or Allie's office was able to provide, was facility space. So that might be something that you would be able to provide for them if they were hosting a program like that. Another opportunity that came about was that Georgia Vocational Rehabilitation was actually going to provide us with payment if we were able to provide transportation to and from some of these activities. Now, obviously, we know that there are some liability issues that come into play there, but that's something obviously that you could work out with your counties and your state and things if that a need came about to you. So this was a very valuable program, a lot of working pieces to this 5-day program. And again, not only in one county, but multiple counties across the state.
And I'll mention this is something that they have done annually. So it's not just 1 year. This started right after we worked with them, but we have continued to partner with them over the course of several years now on this program every summer.
One of the things that we wanted to kind of highlight too was when working with individuals with disabilities or some lesson modifications. If you are providing programming to reach individuals with disabilities, that's something that we want you to be aware of, that sometimes you may need to ask for what needed modifications or what modifications are needed within that lesson that you are trying to teach or share that information. For example, I had an individual who was blind, and that was something that I did not know going into that lesson. So we had some different things, and we had to do some modifications kind of on the, I guess, on the fly while we were there to make sure that they were receiving the best quality programming that they could receive. So it's always important to ask what modifications are needed up front. And there will be some that you're able to better prepare for if you know that ahead of time. Also, if you have someone that might be hearing impaired or might require an interpreter, that's something that you would also need to know ahead of time. But just be aware, again, if you are working with individuals who may have some type of hearing impairment. One of the things that we really
have a question, Abby. I'm going to stop you for a second. I think somebody has a question they want to ask, and I don't mind if we go and do that. Is that
okay? Not at all.
So, Prudence, did you have a question?
Yes, I am actually getting ready to start a club. We're meeting with the potential club leader Friday, and so I think all of the youth are blind. So my question was, how did you go? Who paid for the modifications? Was it you out of your county office? I know Georgia and Florida are going to be different, but I was just curious how the modifications were dealt with.
So some of the modifications, and those are going to vary depending on what modifications are kind of requested. I know as far as, and you're talking about, who paid for those modifications. As far as working with the individual who was blind, that was something that we were just able to make smaller changes there within the lesson, that they had a friend there that was able to, kind of show them around the area and walk with them and be there with them to make sure that they were supported and kind of understood what was going on there. We also provided them an opportunity to really, be able to touch and feel things that were going on there. So for example, the professional dress, one of the things that we may have provided during that professional dress setting that we could have already thought about is bringing in different types of clothing and allow them to feel the difference between, more of a casual t-shirt dress and a more business professional jacket, and really have things that might be a little bit more tactile than a drawing activity is what we typically would do with that. But one thing that I do have some experience with as far as a modification or is a sign language interpreter. And for us, that is something that we're looking at other funding sources for because that has come directly from our county budget. So, depending on what specific modifications these individuals are requesting, there can be government funding out there for that, but it really is just what specific modification is needed. Did that answer your question on that one somewhat?
Yes, I think we're looking at brailing curriculum. So that was kind of where we're going, but I will find out more on Friday because I know, I think they have a machine that can be utilized for that. So that'll help save some money.
Absolutely. And I know if, you know, I don't know where you are as far as location, but like we have a Georgia school for the blind and things like that. And that might be a good resource to reach out to if you have one there as well.
Thank you.
It could be that if the vocational rehabilitation, if they are being prepared for employment, if that's something that you could connect with in your state, they may be able to help support that as well.
Okay. Does anybody have any more questions at this time? Okay. All right. So back to some of our modifications. Some of our modifications were just for increased movement. So a lot of the individuals that we worked with did have developmental delays and things like that. So they really needed the opportunity for increased movement. I know in working with a younger population, we know that it's important to allow movement to come within our classrooms and things like that. And that was especially important for some of these lessons, just to provide these individuals an opportunity to move around and to not be held within that same space. A lot of them do their best thinking whenever they're able to stand up and move around where they are. We also allowed for some increased discussion time, that they would be able to practice those communication skills that we talked about. While at school, they might not have the opportunity to really feel comfortable and sit down with a group. These were a group of individuals who were very, very similar to them. So we wanted to be able for them to be able to take advantage of that time that they had together. So we did allow for some increased discussion time, but also that provided an opportunity for us to provide clarity. So if we had a lot of questions that maybe we may not be clear on, we were able to really provide some increased time for discussion. One of the things that we also provided was drawing and communication for evaluation. I know that as extension professionals, we really, really love an evaluation piece. So that was something that we wanted to take away some of the things that we were doing and some of the things that we were providing to be able to see what real impact we were able to make. And with that, we decided just the regular questionnaire really would not be able to be captured, would not capture the information that we really wanted to have. So we thought with working with these individuals, communication, so asking them a question and then having those answers written up on the board were a big piece of that. But also we used drawing. And drawing was one of the pieces that I did for the professional dress setting. So we taught our professional dress lesson, and then they were able to draw what they would look like on their first day in their professional job. So, and in our professional dress lesson, we talk about that you can be a professional regardless of what job that you're working in. What is the best dress for that particular job? And so some of them, they had on their construction hat, they had on their safety vest, they had on their boots. Others had on a suit and tie as far as their drawing. And that was a great way for them to have an activity that they really, really enjoyed because we found that there were a lot of great artists during this lesson and during this activity. So they were not only able to do an activity, but they were also able to complete that evaluation, that we were able to see and understand that they truly understood the material that we provided them. And they were really able to let that sink in that, oh, if I start my first job, this might be something that I would want to wear that day. So that drawing and, that drawing for communication for some of those that didn't feel comfortable sharing with the group, they were also able to draw and share their picture to be able to identify, hey, this is what I would look like as a professional, and this would be the dress that I would also wear.
And we also did that with a thank you note lesson as well. So, because we have, as part of our lesson, we have people actually write a thank you note for something. We have them decide what they want that to be. But for this particular group, we also gave the option of drawing a picture of what they were thankful for, still writing it to the person that they wanted to thank, but allowing them to draw a picture and of whatever the gift or the thing that they had received was for, or how it made them feel. And so that was another piece of using drawing in that lesson plan as well, so that they didn't have to necessarily verbalize or use words for that, but they could still connote some meaning.
And so this kind of wraps us up for this session. We wanted to be able to provide you guys with a question and answer time, whether it's about our specific curriculum that you could share with youth that you may be working with, or what are some contacts and ways that you could possibly reach out to vocational rehab within your state. What questions do you guys have for us? Or if you think of some after our session, you have our email addresses here, and we'll be happy to take any questions that you guys have for us.
Any questions? We appreciate everyone joining us today.
Well, we just got a question in the chat. Is
Okay.
our curriculum available to look at? Yes, absolutely. You can either direct message us your email address, or type it in the chat is fine. And we're happy to share that. It's in a OneDrive link, and it's open to whoever wants it. You can use it at your leisure. So,
Allie, is it possible to get a copy of your PowerPoint?
yes.
Okay. We'll upload the video, especially for the ones, again, I apologize for the tech issues. I have no idea why that didn't work, and still haven't been able to figure that one out, trying to figure it out here while it was playing. Apologize for that, but we're going to upload it in case you joined us kind of in the middle or a little bit late, so you can watch the whole video if you're interested. But Abbie, we do appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much, and hope everyone has a great weekend.
Thank you, guys.